o congresista y se envuelve tanto en la cosa social que es importante, pero ¿qué cosa social tú estás volviendo para ayudar a tu distrito y ayudar a tu gente hispana y dominicana? Y ellos no están haciendo eso y se les ve, todito ellos están igualitos. Si tú miras el récord de ellos, tú tienes que mirar el récord de cada uno de ellos y qué ellos están haciendo para su distrito.
It provides about $300 billion in loans for small businesses, much of which would be forgiven if they rehire and pay their workers. Another $500 billion in loans is provided for big companies, states, and municipalities, so it does some good things. Some. Here are some other things that it provides for, and these are just a few. $20 million for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. $2 million for Justice Information Sharing Technology for the DOJ. $60 million for NASA for Safety, Security, and Mission Services, $75 million for the National Science Foundation, $400 million in election security grants, $200 million for the FCC, $100 million for the TSA, because we all know how useful that is on a good day, an additional $7 million for wildland fire management, $25 million for the Kennedy Center.
Changing the emission standards on airplanes. Mr. President, what the hell do the emission standards on airplanes have to do with thousands of people dying and millions of people out of work in the coronavirus epidemic? Don't treat this bill like a partisan Christmas. We've got things we would like to advance too. Things I believe in deeply. You want to talk about what I'd like to do? I'd like to abolish the IRS. I've campaigned on that all over the country. I'm going to continue fighting for that. But, Mr. President, I'm not standing here with an amendment saying, as part of this emergency relief, let's abolish the IRS. There's a place for that political and policy discussion. Wind and solar tax credits. Mr. President, what in the hell does a windmill have to do with this crisis? And they're willing to extort a crisis to try to advance their political agenda.
$75 million in extra grant money for the National Endowment for the Arts, another $75 million for the National Endowment for Humanities. It also provides $75 million for NPR and PBS, $25 million to clean and sanitize the Capitol building, and finally, an additional $25 million for salaries and expenses for Congress. Now, the fact checkers that be and the congressmen who passed this bill want you to know that that is not a $25 million salary raise. No, not at all. It's just $25 million more for their telework equipment, childcare, and food expenses. So not salaries. Totally okay. Oh, by the way, this is all additional money on top of what these agencies and departments were already appropriated earlier this year. This is extra. Now, I'm all about helping Americans survive this crisis. The massive price tag on this bill should scare us all witless, considering we're already $23 trillion in debt. But millions of people have lost their jobs through no fault of their own here, and they have to eat. But can someone please tell me what in the world Shakespeare in the Park has to do with the coronavirus?
What the hell do the emission standards on airplanes have to do with thousands of people dying and millions of people out of work in the coronavirus epidemic?
How does shoveling tens of millions more into NASA help people whose lives are being completely upended because they can't go to work right now? Bet that $25 million for the Kennedy Center could have bought a few more face masks for our hospitals, or maybe helped some vulnerable homeless folks get off the street. Those are just some suggestions.
Don't play games with this. This crisis isn't going to end tomorrow. It's not going to end the next day. It's going to last for a considerable time. It's going to require adults to step up and lead.
Why does Big Bird get $75 million in extra funding when a business owner who made $100,000 a year but has now been forced to close his store gets nothing? This is a $2.2 trillion aid package supposedly designed to help Americans survive this pandemic, and Congress is pouring billions of dollars into things that have nothing to do with the virus. Because, see, this is what government does. They toss a couple $1,000 to each American and say, Best of luck to you. Hope this sees you through for the next God only knows how long. And then gives a federally subsidized theater $25 million for deep cleaning and telework technology. Ironic that it's called the CARES Act. Cares about who, exactly? People? Or already bloated federal programs? About keeping America running or just fueling the massive government machine? This is everything wrong with the federal government in one bill. It's too big to get your hands around. It's too long to have properly read before voting on it. It's inefficient. It spends money where it's not needed and leaves out things that are. It throws pennies at American taxpayers while propping up partisan pet projects. And it does it all at the expense of our children's grandchildren. And while the bill might be massive, the issues with it can be summed up very, very simply. When a government cannot procure enough ventilators for dying people, but can find millions in extra funding to throw at the National Endowment for the Arts, we've got a problem.